Hello, everyone. Welcome to this episode of Beyond the Barclay with me, Jez Davies, and I'm, of course, joined with the coolest man in Dereham, Morgan Hewitt.
I'd say the warmest man in Dereham.
Yeah, well, the weather at the moment,
I'm not stuck in a tiny little room with long sleeve t-shirt on, isn't it?
Well, yeah, true. Yeah. I feel your pain in the hot room in Stevenage. So, yeah, I guess less said about the weather, more said about our guest today, Mr. Chris Reeve. Hi, Chris. How are you?
Hello, boys. I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, good. Thanks.
Thank you so much for coming on it. And obviously, must be quite interesting being this side of the fence for a change rather than your hosting skills on Talk Norwich City. Perhaps just like to introduce yourself first for those of you that don't know you. There won't be many, but if you just like to introduce yourself and perhaps how long you supported Norwich for.
Wow, thank you. Well, first of all, really grateful to come on. Great stuff. Keep it up. Happy to chew the Norwich City fat with you boys today. Chris Reeve, Talk Norwich City. It's really weird me being on the other side of the camera. I don't know what I'm doing here. Chris Reeve, Talk Norwich City, co-host, of course, of the TNC podcast, and also now BBC Radio Norfolk, The Scrimmage. Also dabbling in a little bit of Canary Cool for the last couple of seasons as well. Mm-hmm. Being a Norwich City supporter since, oh my God, you're challenging me now. Mm-hmm. Well, my first game was at 6 years old, and it was the first leg of the infamous Gianfranco Zola underneath the legs flick versus Chelsea. So that would have been 01, 02, probably, if my memory serves me correct. So, been through loads of ups and downs. I'm so jealous now of the new Norwich City fans coming through the ranks that just haven't experienced like the pain of League One, for example. Haven't lost to Ipswich, for example.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But then quite envious of those more, shall I call them, mature or experienced supporters that actually witnessed Bayern Munich, because I was 4 months old when we won against Bayern Munich. So that's a quick introduction. We love using our platform for good. And so over the years, we've just really committed to the cause with Big C, Norfolk and Waveney's cancer charity. And we're not too far off 50 grand raised now. We're on a mission to raise 100 grand. So that's amazing. That's my blurb.
No, it's really good, Chris. Really, really well done with that. And I did see an update. I think it was either this week or the tail end of last week, where you said you'd raised 47k, wasn't it? 48k. But that's absolutely amazing. So yeah, keep going with that. And obviously, if we can help in any way, we will.
Just to interject, Jez, you just go back to Canary Call. You guys have met already.
Well, not face to face, but we have talked on Canary Call. It was actually I think it was the Scrimmage back end of January, I think, perhaps.
Nice. Do you know it's really difficult, chaps, because I'm now in this position where I'm like trying to remember names, faces, and speaking to so many people. It's so difficult to kind of like put and obviously now it's like radio in person. I'm like, haven't I? Yeah. So great to be speaking with you, Jez.
Yeah, 100%. And I think as well, as you mentioned the Chelsea game, and I vividly remember that match because it was Carlo Cudicini was a man possessed that day. I think it was probably the most complete goalkeeping performance I can ever remember from an opposition player. He was phenomenal. Like, I think we had at Carrow Road, we had chance after chance after chance, and it was the same. Was it the same season we got promoted, or not got promoted? Sorry, we reached the playoffs at Cardiff. I think it was exactly the same season. And funny enough, you mentioned the Gary Holt episode before we came on, and one of Gary's former teammates, Lewis Blois, who was actually on the bench that day. It's a funny story because a friend of mine, he won't thank me for mentioning this, but he was like, "Who's this Lebois with signs?" And I was like, "That's not Lebois, it's Lewis Blois. He's come out of the academy." But no, it was great memories, and I actually went to the return game of that one, Chris, as well at Stamford Bridge, and we lost. We lost 4-0, if I remember. As you say, you mentioned the Gianfranco Zola's, the flick, as it was. Any other sort of standout moments, perhaps before you got involved with the Talk Norwich City project that you'd want to raise?
What, in my Norwich City supporting trauma?
Yeah.
Blooming heck. Well, there wasn't. I can't really remember that much of life before Talk Norwich City, to be honest with you, because we've been on that kind of journey now for a decade. Would you believe? So, my kind of childhood. I mean, my main childhood memories, and the reason why I fell in love was the Nigel Worthington Division 1 nationwide Division 1 winning championship. Of course, Hucks, Jury lifting the trophy aloft at City Hall, the parade around the city, the yellow and green on the castle mound. So that was life pre-TNC, but really, because I've been doing Talk Norwich City for a decade now, and it's been all so consuming, I can't really remember much before that.
Yeah, that's good. That probably leads quite nicely into the next question, Morgan.
So yeah, it's a good segue. So what inspired you to start Talk Norwich City? And obviously, how has it evolved since you began?
Wow. What did inspire me to? Well, first of all, you have to kind of rewind right back to Jack Reeve standing outside what was then the Norwich and Peterborough stand, trying to become a journalist, and was filming fan cams made and famous from Arsenal Fan TV back in the day. And I just went up to him for an interview, and we got on like a house on fire. We really kind of enjoyed each other's company, and then we kind of just became bound by our shared grief of both losing a parent. And it was at that point we kind of went from, best friends to brothers, if you will, brothers in our own adversity. And then Talk Norwich City started to take off and evolve. A couple of years later, after that, we started the podcast, which is now, I shared a throwback post actually today, because it's been 8 years since we had our big break with Russell Martin. So we've been doing the podcast for at least 8 years now. So it's been a journey of triumph. It's been a journey of mental health challenges. But I wouldn't change it for the world. I'm so grateful to have done all of the things that I've done through that channel, and I'm so grateful to be in the position that I am now because of that channel.
I mean, I think it's sort of almost reflective of the Norwich City Football Club. The last few years is being through fairly tumultuous period of time. I think that would be fair to say. And from that, though, we've seen numerous other podcasts sort of pop up. Obviously, this one included that you're currently on, although I would say that this is primarily, fundamentally at its heart, fan stories and their journey, again, while you're sitting in front of us now. What kind of advice would you recommend for any other Canaries sort of podcast content creators out there?
So I'll tell you an anecdote from when I first started the Talk Norwich City podcast. Paul McVeigh said to me in his Irish accent, which I'm not going to repeat, he said, "Are you sure you want to do this, Chris?" And I said, "Yeah," because I was, young and naive at that point, and I was in this kind of social media era, right, where it was all kicking off. I was like, "Yeah, of course I do, Paul." And he said, "Well, you're going to get abused, you're going to get criticism, you're going to get stick. It's going to be really difficult for you, and it's really hard to grow, maintain, and also, to be honest with you, eventually at some stage, if you're going to do something, maybe monetize it, right?" I said, "Okay, Paul, yeah, whatever." And then kind of quickly learn of the reality of running a fan channel. If I'm really candid with you chaps, I now advise people not to do it, because I'm not sure it's worth the mental health implications. And that's the unsexy answer for you. I don't know if you expect me to go, "Yeah, everyone start a YouTube channel and do this and do that." I think there's this kind of misunderstanding that you can create a living, purely through a podcast, which I do not. I run my own business as my primary income. And I don't think people realize that you cannot win if you host a podcast, if you start a podcast, if you create content. And football is such a testosterone-y, lively, emotional topic that it's extremely difficult. But if someone chooses to stay the course and they say, "No, hey, actually, do you know what? I am genuinely passionate about, creating something that I can then maybe grow a career in media for myself. Well, the key thing is keep turning up, keep recording, keep sharing your opinions, your take, be unapologetically you. That's something that, of course, I've paid the price for over the years, but that's also why I am where I am today, because I've stayed authentic to who I am. And I think many people that start out just try and do the same thing that everyone else is doing. They don't put their own twist on it. They are afraid to put their head above the parapet. There's a lot of, if I'm really honest with you, there's a lot of tap-in merchants, I'll say, amongst the kind of content creation scene, where they'll just kind of keep it simple, and they'll do the same thing as everyone else, but then they won't grow their channel, they won't grow their podcast, and then they'll think, this isn't worth the hassle. I'm getting abuse. I'm gonna pack it in. And I think that's why we've managed to stay the course and keep consistent, is that, first of all, Jack and I genuinely have each other's backs, and we're able to kind of lean on each other for support. And also, we have just turned up every week, rain nor shine, outside the stadium. Whether we've been thumped every week, whether we're getting draws, whether it's relegation, whether it's mid-table mediocrity or promotions. It's so easy to do a fan channel, to create content when things are going well, but it's when the sun doesn't shine that the kind of the real grind begins. So that's quite an unsexy answer for you chaps, but that's the complete truth.
Not at all. I think that there's a lot what you said there echoed what we've been, because I only just joined Jez at the start of January as a co-host of Beyond the Barclay, but it's been a lot of fun. Stuff that, because there's other stuff that we do outside of this. We've got a little video team that I help. We sort of do little videos. I started to do little videos. We've just about to release a video about On the Stall City in the forum, getting their kind of word out there. But I think that I jumped on board this just as that the second half of the Hov season started to go like that, and we're having these chats with fans, and it's like, so how do you think the season's going? And it's just like, I don't really know. I mean, I think if I joined when it was sunny, when things were on the uptick, maybe. Basically, what I'm saying is we've been through the ringer, haven't we, Jez? Although we've yet to receive that much abuse. So
no, we haven't. And I think a lot of I'd sort of expand on the point you just made as well, Morgan, if I may. And I think we do talk a lot about what's going on now, but we also talk a lot about what happened in the past, which I think a lot of people resonate with because it's their memories. And Chris, you just very frankly talked about some of the memories you've got from various games of the Worthington era when we were there at City Hall, or watching Jury pick up the Division 1 trophy as it was then. And that's what we really want to kind of get across to I guess to our fan base, really, is we're just an outlet for you guys to come on and relive those memories. You might have a different story. Like we had we've had quite a few people on, but I guess Ronnie Moulton, Morgan, would you say was quite a good one in terms of the work that he does with the CSF and his work with Duncan's club? And it was great to hear about that, and some of the work that the women's football have done. We've just taken on Izzy, who's just going to start a women's football show next season. So it's for us, it's really a big movement. Sounds a bit like it's like bosh, but it's not. It's just a fan-led podcast. For me, I do it as a hobby. I love it, but whether I was as you say, Chris, whether I started getting abuse, who knows? I'm a big enough lad to deal with it, I guess. But you're right. I think sometimes you just got to. I guess sometimes just water for ducks back. Is that right?
Yeah.
Sorry, is that for me, Jez, or
That's
Morgan?
Sorry, I should have.
No, it's not. And I'll just positively challenge you on that. It's very easy for you to say that when you've not been absolutely smashed. but trust me, that wave will come, my friend, because you're consistent. You keep turning up, and you're getting good interviews now. The Three Lungs one the other week, which I really enjoyed. That was fantastic. that is going to come, and it's not waters off a duck's back. It's extremely difficult. Because often it can turn personal and can affect your mental health. So I wish you luck. It is coming, my friend. I'm sorry to say it. You can't win, but I just encourage you to keep going and keep creating and keep producing this content.
No, that means a lot. Thanks very much. And I think, it's you see a lot of people in media these days, don't you, that and not media as well, politics and everything, where you're right, you log onto X nowadays and it's like, this person's getting a lot of stick and this person, and you're right, I think there is that mental health aspect as well. So yeah, fair point for mentioning that.
It's something we talked about, wasn't it, with Mick Dennis? At the start of this year, we had Mick on before we did the video stuff, which I'm still kind of getting a bit used to, because now it's like people know what we look like, and that to me is a bit weird. So, but anyway, Mick Dennis was saying, like, the sort of some of the comments that he's had have been, have been a little bit personal, and that's the beast of social media. Once the genie's out of the bottle, you can't put it back in again. I mean, what is your kind of take on it? Because I mean, you're first and foremost, are you a social media expert? Is that the right word to use?
If you want to call me that, I'll take it, Morgan. I run a social media agency, so Reeve Social Media is my business. So I support small, medium, and large businesses, personal accounts too on their socials. So strategy, creation, publishing. So I've been doing that forever as a side hustle, but I started it in 2020. So yeah, that's my field of expertise is social media management, creation, creating commercial opportunity through the power of social media. So, but obviously, given my experience with Talk Norwich City and definitely BBC Radio Norfolk as well, for sure, there's been a lot of learnings along the way about how to best handle that sort of thing. And don't want to doom and gloom this whole podcast with that, to be honest with you. But I think the main thing for me is just realizing that so many people out there are really struggling, and often they resort to social media to tear down someone else to make themselves feel better about their own situation. So I tend to, as many people would have seen, I kill people with kindness, and we'll often ask them to have a chat, meet for a coffee. We'll buy them a case of beer. We'll donate to a charitable cause that they want to be a part of. And more often than not, they realize, oh yeah, actually, that's not really the way I should behave. So I try and use my platform for good in that sense. And most people I end up in dialogue with have been through a divorce, or they've unfortunately had someone pass in their family, or they're currently going through a redundancy or something. So it's always the way. So my advice for people on, when it comes to, getting criticism online it is really difficult. It's not water off a duck's back. It is really, really challenging. But just try to limit your screen time, sleep on it. Don't respond emotionally and get into a ping pong match. And just remember, there's a reason why they're doing that stuff. And it's because they're really struggling in their lives. Yeah, no, 100%. I'll expect a case of Woodford's pure gold in the post, Chris. Thank you very much. So look, I think moving on, how do you balance being a passionate fan with being a broadcaster on BBC Radio Norfolk? I don't balance it. Okay. I don't balance it. It's full throttle, all in or nothing, emotional, passionate, talking to the camera. I think the only difference is, obviously, with BBC Radio Norfolk, I've had to rein in my language. But that's been good development for me as a host. One of the things that I said obviously, Chris Gorham and Rob were the guys that brought me into Radio Norfolk and the scrimmage, and I said to them at the start, I was like, oh, I'm not sure about this, do I need to be a bit more like this or a bit more like that? And they were like, no, Chris, no, don't do that. We want you. That's why you've got this gig, because we want you to be you. That's why people are engaged and listen and enjoy it and find it entertaining, right? It goes back to that previous point about, you could just be a tap-in merchant, or you can just be you and share your opinions. So I would say there's probably not much difference, and that is probably what costs me in some abuse, Jez, but by the same token, that is obviously where I am where I am with it. So the only difference is, as I say, the swearing has had to stop completely on Radio Norfolk, but the passion and commitment and energy stays the same always.
No,
it's tough not swearing, isn't it? It's like when we first started when I first joined this, I was like, I dropped a few F-bombs in my time. And then you're like, well, these go out to families. And I really struggled. But now I think Jez, do you think I've gotten any better? I think so.
You just remind yourself constantly it's a family podcast, Morgan. That's one of your famous quotes, isn't it? But no, I think that's a fair shout, Chris. And they wouldn't have probably wanted a watered down Chris Reeve. They would have wanted the real deal. And I think that's a really fair shout. And I think perhaps talk a little bit about that journey then. So how did that develop, and what was it like sort of working with perhaps Rob and Chris for the first time?
Without sounding wet, it was a dream come true, because I've, grown up, really put both of those guys on a pedestal. They are, the guys, right? They are the local broadcasting kings for me. Michael Bailey is another one that I looked up to a lot, when I was younger, and I'm very blessed to call a friend now as well. But, having Chrissy G, as I now call him, which is all a bit funny, Chrissy G and Rob Butler, who I often refer to as an old man. We have great banter about that. Having them as mentors has been amazing. It's been really good. And actually it's helped raise my game in terms of my hosting and my questioning skills, and when to go, when to listen, how to engage, what to say, what not to say. It's just been an absolute dream come true, because I'm just like a completely normal fan that's sat, sworn and sung in the Barclay, stood and jumped on my seat for years and years and years. So yeah, to hang out with those two guys now, and Phil Daly as well, by the way, it's it's been mental. But it was all created through sticking it out with Talk Norwich City, continuing to create content, and getting guests on, and getting better at hosting and facilitating and creating cool content. And yeah, it's just been the most crazy journey, and I still can't really believe I am where I am, and I'm fully expecting it to stop any time. It's quite funny. They tell me off because they are who they are, right? But last season when I did my Canary call, I said to Rob and Chris in the press room, I said, chaps, like, let's get a picture at the front where they do the interviews, right, with the sponsors board behind. And they're like, no, Revo, don't do that. I'm like, well, it's all right for you, but I'm just a fan. I might not be doing this season. I want to remember this moment, right? And they're like, you've got to earn the right to sit there, Chris. I'm like, no, I don't. I'm going to sit there and take this opportunity. So my current banner on X is me in between those two legends. And just pinch myself all the time over the stuff that I do through Talk Norwich City as well, by the way, chatting to, like, more recently Gabby Sarah or Emmy Buendia. It's crazy. I'm so lucky. So lucky.
And how do those, obviously, again, great interviews that you just mentioned there with those chaps. We'll probably touch on the Delia episode a little bit later on as well. But how do they come about? Is it just through your kind of, as you say, love of the club, the fact you've done it for so long? Is it very easy to get those kind of interviews, or do you have to do a bit of work? And I know the answer to this, by the way, but it's more for the viewers. How difficult is it to get
I wish it was easy. The average kind of first communication to filming time could be 2 years. And by that time, most people would have given up after the first couple of messages, right? So I think it massively helps that I've been in the game for a decade, right? Because people have consistently seen the passion, the enthusiasm, the energy, the commitment, the love for the club. And of course, when someone says yes, that, helps with trust. And we really pride ourselves on not screwing over any of our guests. There's no kind of sensationalist headlines or, I always ask my guests before they come on, is there anything you don't want to speak about? as well as this is what we would like to speak about, and just making sure that they're really comfortable at all times. And of course, once someone comes on and speaks and, you know, looks and feels the part and we share that content, it then opens up the opportunity to then go and speak to someone else that's in the same team, for example. So it often works if they're teammates. But I think, again, really, an unsexy answer is it's just consistency, turning up, keep creating content, keep being passionate, and keep looking after people and being kind, because it would be really easy for me to do an interview with someone and get like a big line out of them, put it all over social, and it screws someone else over. But then you don't get future interviews. It's not, you know, you don't get that kind of long-term altitude if you just screw people over. So I think that's another mistake that a lot of people make. So anyway, that was a ramble. Back to you.
Fine. I mean, I think, I think you need to give yourself a pat on the back, Jez, because the viewers at home don't realise I don't do anything. Jez does all that.
Yeah, well, I think that's a bit harsh on yourself, Morgan. I think you probably do more than you think you do.
Jez's message is, Jez, you message whoever quite regularly. You're like a dog with a bone, aren't you? But I mean,
I do. I'll go out and pester people for, as Chris has just said, multiple times to try and get them on, and eventually I think they just go, "Oh, go on then." bit like Chris, really.
It's about timing, though, as well. It's about timing. It's about timing as well. Like, for example, when Emmy left, he said to me immediately, "Yeah, want to do it," and it took until now for him to be like, "Actually, no, now is the right time." Same with Gabby. Gabby had agreed to do a podcast with us whilst he was at the club, but we couldn't get over the line because of certain circumstances at that time. Later on, it's the right time, and also the big thing as well is it's about value exchange. So it's about actually really thinking, well, what are they going to get out of this, rather than actually, let's just chat to them. Well, no, hang on a minute, like, what are you going to do to, you know, help broadcast their message, their story, their why? What do they actually want to get out of it, right? So there might be, I don't know, something that's gone wrong for them at Norwich City that they really want to share their truth on, or hey, they might be launching a new book, or they might want to join a new football club, and like, you just have to kind of think about that when you're contacting people. But honestly, it can literally, like, Jack laughs all the time because it could honestly take me. We've got like this big list of all of these guests that we've done, and it's funny because I've got like all of my chasers in, but it's like they're like 3 years, 4 years. We've got some nuts names on there that have just come true, and you know, there's some that we've still not got, but it takes ages to get them to do it. Often, to be honest with you.
Of course,
yeah. I guess you've got to put that sense of because for me, I overthink everything. So I'm like, if I'm emailing someone the third time, please come on the show. I'm like, oh man, I'm pestering this person now. I feel like a right numpty. But Jez doesn't care. He's just like.
Morgan, I think it's time for the next question, sir.
Yeah. So, you must have so many. What's been your most memorable moment covering Norwich City? I think we can look at it two ways, both through Talk Norwich City, TNC, and on Radio Norfolk.
Oh my Lord, that's a really, really difficult question. Great question. Good. I think the best thing was when we did the 24-hour watch along, where we broadcasted for 24 hours. We had guests all the way through. We had a watch along for a game. And to raise 23, I'm a bit annoyed it's not 24 grand in 24 hours, but we raised 23 grand in 24 hours for the cancer charity that supported my mum before she died. And so like that for me was like, I think that's the thing that I'll always have in my kind of my trophy cabinet of small time broadcasting. And I think outside of that, I think the interviews that the things that I care about the most are talking about things that, like, we can do to actually use, like, we can use football for good, right? And it's not just about oh yeah, he did, it was XG this and he made that many passes, or that was a great game. It's like, no, hang on a minute. Like, what about that player's story? What about his personal life? What's gone on in his world that will resonate with us normal fans? And then go, actually, he is like me, actually. So it inspires people and it helps people. So recently, the Emmy Marcondes interview that we did on BBC Radio Norfolk, where I'd researched and found out that Emmy had unfortunately lost his mum when he was the same age as me at 14, and then lost his dad last year. So speaking to him about that was really powerful, and using that massive platform, Radio Norfolk, to talk about grief, because people don't do that. And then on Talk Norwich City, we did a podcast with Simon Thomas again, where we spoke about grief and death and dying and losing a family member. And I'm saying this with a smile. It's not obviously a good thing, but it was so powerful to do. We did a great one with Darren Eady talking about mental health, and he ended up crying on camera, and it was just like, oh my God, wow. Like, we could really use our platform to really help stigma and, societal problems and challenges. So I think those are the things, which again is probably not, I don't know whether you expected me to say Gabby Sarah or Emily Van Deer, like, they're amazing. And don't get me wrong, I get such a buzz from those, but Brian Gunn talking about, the loss of his dear daughter, Francesca, and the story around that. Those are the podcasts for me that meant the most and had the most powerful impact, and will kind of live with me forever.
Yeah. We covered some of that. I was thrown in at the deep end a little bit when we spoke to Drew Broughton earlier in the year, former Norwich player, fear coach now. And he was talking about how fear impacts players' mentality, and how he was addicted to overthinking. And I came off that podcast, and that was the first time for me that I was like, oh, okay. Well, I reflected on it and was like, that was a really powerful podcast. We didn't realize it was going to happen like that, but I was like, then it made me look at some aspects of my life that I need to change, and I'm in the process of changing at the moment. And I thought, well, hopefully other people listening to that podcast will feel the same way, because it isn't just about high performance athletes. You can take that the message that Drew was putting out there on that podcast and apply that to day-to-day a fan's day-to-day life, right? Like, there isn't some kind of like the other world, if you see what I'm saying. And I think sometimes people can kind of get a little bit overawed with these situations and these players, but actually they're just normal people, just happen to play football for a living, and they experience the same woes and troubles and challenges in life as the next man or woman.
That's a great kind of point there, Morgan. And that's what I would say, we really pride ourselves on doing with Talk Norwich City, certainly, is actually hearing the players' side of the story, the players' truth, not the clubs, not the journalists. What does the player think and feel and remember? Because that's really important, because, as you say, they are just normal humans. The conversation we had with Kenny McLean when he came on our podcast, he was getting heaps of abuse, if you remember. I think it was around the time that, was it Dean Smith was, I can't remember now. I think it was when Dean Smith was sacked, maybe. And the club were brilliant and facilitated that interview and asking him about, the abuse he was receiving literally on the streets of Norwich and stuff. And I think that's something that's really important to do, that we try to do, Morgan, as well, as, actually help broadcast the players' story, the players' truth, the players' side of things, to help the player, but actually also just to, again, just help Norwich fans realize and also appreciate these people, right? Really appreciate them as humans. They're not robots. They're not indestructible. They're normal people with high profile jobs, high performing athletes, but with real deep emotions, family trauma, family backstories, challenges, trials, tribulations, successes. So yeah, that's what we try and do on TNC.
Yeah, it's funny. It's like the again, it's like I always think of it like I really reluctantly, I don't like saying a player is rubbish, in other words. But you wouldn't. I always think of it like this: you wouldn't go up to Jez in the street, like you've never met Jez, go up to him and say, Jez, you're rubbish at your job. You're rubbish at that's always something that I'm very cautious about, like criticizing a player, because you wouldn't do it to someone in the street, would you?
Or you. What I've learned is it's okay to criticize as long as you're not personal, and also allow yourself to fall on your sword and be proven wrong and make that clear. Yeah. It was our podcast we did. It was quite funny, actually. We, again, going back to that Russell Martin one we did 8 years ago today. Jack had been criticizing Russ about a week before, saying that he wasn't technically gifted enough to play in certain position or something. And then Russ then brought it up to him on camera, and he went, do you know what? Yeah, fair enough. Actually, what you've said has educated me, and that's a really good point. And I think, again, many people aren't prepared to, be proven wrong. And I think that's, again, a good thing to do if you're in this kind of Norwich City content podcasting game.
No, definitely. I think that's a fair shout. And I think, on that, the classic example I can remember is Wagner a couple of years ago when he made a substitute. I can't remember who he brought off and brought on, but essentially the player he brought on scored the winner for us. But everyone boos around the stadium and like, you don't know what you're doing and all of this. And like, I sat there thinking, well, hang on, that kind of makes sense what he's doing. Let's give it a chance, see what happens. And then at the end of the game, we won. And I think he actually came out on Radio Norfolk and said, what do you want? I've just won you the game. And I think that's the biggest thing, isn't it? I think sometimes, you're right. People can criticize, but, it's got to be done in the right way.
Yeah, absolutely.
100%. I guess sort of finally, before we head on to Morgan's random question of the week, Chris, which I can't wait for. It's absolutely brilliant. Where do you see Norwich City heading over the next few years? And what do you hope your role will be on that journey?
Oh, wow. I would just be very grateful if my role continues the same, to be honest with you, because I can't believe where I am already. So I'm just happy to kind of go along for the ride and see where I end up. So it's not about me. With Norwich City, though, I genuinely, hand on heart, believe that we are at the beginning of an extremely exciting era for the football club. I am a massive advocate for Dealer and Michael, and how much of a fantastic custodians they were for our football club, and how much they loved it and helped it and saved it. But I'm also not deluded enough to understand that there were financial limitations. They said that on our podcast recently. And with Norfolk Holdings Group, again, so fortunate to speak to those guys. It's not just a feeling. I really do understand that what they should, and I would say will do for this football club is going to really take us to the next level, and it's going to be really exciting for us. You've seen, even in this transfer window, that we're able now to be proactive rather than reactive in the market, and we've not done that ever in my supporting lifetime. So
that point, I said exactly the same thing to my friend who's been on the podcast. He's a Nottingham Forest fan, and I said, I've never known us to be this cutthroat. Cutthroat's maybe not the right word, but I've never seen us just go, right, we'll take Manning from a championship rival. We'll get these players in, because in the past, all I've ever known us to do is dither. And then we can't, we're negotiating fees. I get it. I get the intricacies of it all. But then we lose that player. And then we have to go down our list, player B, player C. And then we end up with a player who's perhaps not what we wanted. And, this has been a wild ride so far.
Yeah. And look, I think I agree with that, Morgan. I think and also now in the immediate term, aka this next season coming up, I think we've gone, like, our seesaw has been one or the other. We've had like too many experienced players, or on Talk Norwich City, I call them green bananas that are not ripe to eat yet, players that are not ready to hit the ground running. Too much experience. The squad was too young last season. We lacked experience. We lacked leaders. And by the way, that includes the likes of Barnsley and Hanley that left, that did really leave a void in the team. And I like what we've done this season. I believe that we're in the middle because we've got some young players, we've got some prospects, we've definitely got standout talent. We've got a really exciting player in Chris Gordon that's in the door now. We've got oven-ready, proven players and a manager that literally last season got a team that arguably shouldn't have been in the playoffs, and that's a really good feat. So I think all Norwich fans can get excited and truly enjoy the journey again. Whether we'll get to the Premier League or not next season is for now, I think, almost irrelevant, which sounds quite strong, but I just think we're at the stage where we just all need to get on board the new journey and really just enjoy what Napa is building upon us. I think we should all be excited about the football club in the next, I think 3 seasons. It's going to be really, really exciting.
I don't want to pee on anyone's parade, but I've always ever since Stephen Naismith, have I always, whenever there's been like this hype around a particular player coming in, like this one, Chris Gorham?
The tip is, as we worked out on our podcast this week, is if you don't know how to say his name, just say Chris Gorham quickly. Chris Gorham, okay? Just say that, and then you'll get it. Okay, Matthias Gorham.
But yeah, so I'm just like, nah, until he starts putting some goals away, I reserve them. I'm just like downplaying it completely because I know it's. I mean, it's. I don't know how, like, towards the end of last season, going to games. I was at the Portsmouth game at home, and he sort of just sat there like this.
That was a horror show, wasn't it?
Yeah, but like, I sort of lost that emotion and connection because we do that because me and Jez are on calls all day every day. Do you still have that excitement? Do you still? Because to me, it sort of has sort of shaved the edge off a little bit for me.
No way. I can never not be excited. I get criticised for being too excitable and too excited. I think there's certain times where like it's not exciting, right? I get that. But there's certain times where you can see, hey, it could be exciting soon, or it will be exciting next season. And I just try and think like, I always like go back to what's the point of all of this? Why do we do? Why do we put ourselves through it? No, seriously, like, why do we put ourselves through it? I had an argument with Jack Reeve about this. He was like, there's no point getting in the Premier League now. It's a closed shop. It's boring, right? Why do we do this? Because we love Norwich City. We want the David versus Goliath battle. We want to be proud of our city, our club, where we're from. And yes, times get tough, but for me, it's always the good times are only just around the corner, and we could be there now. I think the minute I lose that excitement, I'd probably stop doing what I'm doing because the content would be pretty boring, really. But I get the times aren't exciting at some stages for sure.
Yeah,
I'm with you, Chris, on this one, and the reason I started this was because I felt a disconnect with Norwich City, and I've never felt that, by the way. But I actually started falling back in love with going to watch Norwich after I started this process because I started speaking to fans. It's difficult not to, right? Because you hear the stories and it kind of plays in your head all those different memories that you've got, and that's the reason why I started this was because I live in Hertfordshire. I don't really, I can't. Well, like you two will be able to walk out your door. You'll probably meet a Norwich fan within the first 10 minutes you're walking outside.
Yeah,
I'd be lucky to do that unless I drove up to Thetford. Do you know what I'm saying? So for me, it was really to reconnect with Norwich fans, which is what it's achieved really, and probably gone on to something else. But the point I'm getting at is I never lost the connection as such, but perhaps lost the love of it a little bit, and that comes down to the 2-hour drive to Norwich and back. And when you've lost,
I get it. It's easy for us to be. Yeah, I totally get that.
But it's like this has reignited it for me. And I absolutely loved the tail end of last week where we covered the women's game at Carrow Road, Morgan, didn't we? And got to sat in the press box and little things like that, where that really felt really special to me. To that sort of that sort of opportunity, I guess. But no, it's great. And I think, you know, the biggest thing for me, Chris, is what you did was what you did during COVID for the fans, because there was a lot of fans out there that weren't able to go and watch football because we're all inside. And I think what you and Jack did, and quite rightly got awarded by the club, didn't you, for your efforts there?
The fans voted us. Yeah, that was mad.
It was great, and I think, you know, all of those watch-alongs you did. That probably we've talked a lot about mental health on this podcast. That time in people's lives was horrific, and actually what you and Jack did to bring a bit of life into it, to keep people engaged in Norwich City when they could have not bothered really. Like, why would you go watch a football stadium where there's no one there? And so the point I'm getting at is, you know, well done for what you did there. Because it was really good. Something I mentioned.
I appreciate that. You know, for us, it just felt like we just had to do it. It just felt right. It wasn't. We were like everyone else. Like me and Jack just wanted to keep chatting about Norwich and watch it together. And then we just thought, oh, do you know what? Let's do a goggle box for Norwich City and let's do a watch along every week. And the only problem with that, of course, Jez and Morgan, is that we ended up getting half of Norfolk pissed on Lakens. That was a challenge. I literally spent the whole season semi-permanently tipsy, at least. But no, it was great. And obviously the crescendo of all that, raising all that money for Big C, was epic. And it was a really sad, tough time, but also a special time. And I think what COVID probably taught us as Norwich City fans is actually how much of a family, genuinely connected fan base we are, and how much we give a shit, because it was, excuse my French, there you go. There goes monetization for Beyond the Barclay. It was just really special because we could all come together, and it was just mental seeing, like, I'm obviously the other side of the camera looking at the numbers on the screen, and it was like 2,000 people are watching you, 3,000 people, 4,000. You know, there were points where 5,000, 6,000 people, you know, concurrently were watching, and I was like, crap, Jack, like, there's so many people. But it was, you know, we just did what we could to keep people together. And yeah, I'm grateful that the Norwich fans kept us sane, because if we hadn't done that, we would have gone insane. In fact, I did go insane because I did the TNC shanty, if you remember, which everyone rinsed me for. But I'm pleased I did it now, because I was, I guess, just like everyone else, going insane during the pandemic.
Yeah. I think like the point about it being like I think one of the things about the Norwich fan base is it's very different in that it's extremely passionate because of where the club is situated. It's not in the Midlands, so you have Derby, Sheffield, you know, all of these different clubs you can support. It's out of the way. It's pretty much the only club all the way. Jez will laugh at me if I don't say it, if I get it wrong this time, but all the way to Ipswich. I'd said Leicester last time, and Jez gave me pelters for it, so I'll say it this time. But like, since me and Jez have been doing this podcast, you just don't realize just how far globally this club reaches. Like, you know, and how rabid the fan base is about it. It's like we spoke to Emmy, the Norwegian, Jez, or Finnish?
Yeah, no, she's Norwegian, but she represented Ireland at the Eurovision Song Contest.
She was like, I was like, so why are you a Norwich fan? She's like, oh, my dad really liked what was the player's name
Martin
again?
Peters.
Martin Peters, because he's Norwegian, and then you've got this Norwegian connection, and it's just.
Did you say Martin Peters was Norwegian?
Oh, was he not?
No, he was one of the England World Cup 1966 winners.
Oh, really? Oh, well, shows how much I know.
Cut that if you want.
Yeah, probably. But but that's weird. Like, why would you, being from Norway, why would you follow this random club in Norfolk? And that's what, because I do, like, for my job is I do like user research a lot. So I talk to people in interviews and quite a lot. So getting their stories out of them, you know, it's something that I enjoy doing. But some of this, it's like I'm going to mention the weirdest reason for someone supporting Norwich was we had this chap on called Steve Thomason, aka the Gun Show, on the Pinken Forum, and he supported Norwich because his parents had a canary as their pet.
Love it.
Just on that, do you read any of the forums, Chris?
That's a really stupid question. Honestly, the best decision I've made in the last couple of years, actually probably 3 or 4 years, I do not read the Pinken Forum. I really respect the guys of the Pinken and what they do. I do not read the forum. I removed myself from all of the Norwich City Facebook pages because they are brilliantly bonkers. They are just absolutely brilliantly bonkers. Some of the conspiracies that I read are just absolutely got myself out of there. But one of the reasons why I guess how I built my audience is by communicating and engaging, but that's mainly been on X, really. But no, I don't read any of them. If I read them, it would absolutely eat me alive.
Fair enough. Chris, thank you so much for coming on. It's been a pleasure to get to you.
It's been fantastic.
Before you go, though, I do have to put you through the ordeal of Morgan's random question of the week. Morgan, if you'd like to do the honours, please.
I have to spin the chair every time, Chris. I did this one time, and it's become a thing, and so I can't get out of it.
All right. Okay.
Random question of the week. So, I'm going out on a limb. I'm going to say that your full name, Christopher.
Yes.
So you share a name with the famous actor who played Superman in the 1970s and 1980s films with the same name.
Yes.
If you could choose a superhero which most represents your values, who would it be and why?
Oh, God, that's really difficult. Oh God. My answer to this, I've answered this question before, and I would just say Superman because he is my namesake, right? Oh God, that's really difficult. That's a really hard question. Oh God, this is so random. Oh God. Oh no. Actually no, I can't say that. I can't answer this question. This is just too random. I'm going to say Superman because I love the fact that he saves the day, he helps people, and I like to think that I do what I can to help people, to give to charity, to raise money for charities that need it, to talk about subjects that need talking about. So I would stick with my namesake and say Superman.
Okay, good response. Jez, what about you?
It's got to be Deadpool, isn't it?
Why?
Which links nicely to our episode on Monday, doesn't it? Which will probably go up.
You're such an opportunist. This guy.
No, I just think he's hilarious, isn't he? And comes through adversity to do what he does, and then he's actually got a little bit of a sense of humour about him as well. So I think, if I had to pick any, probably in my own mind, more than anyone else's. Particularly when I start doing my David Brent impressions, But that'd be mine. What about you, Morgan?
I've gone for a bit of a left field choice, so almost like an anti-hero, Venom, because he obviously I'm muscly like Venom, but also like there's two sides. He's just a bit of a grizzled hack with. If you read into it too much, he's got a split personality. Well, I'm not saying I've got a split personality disorder, but I do talk to myself down the bread aisle of supermarkets, which tends to put people off. I talk to myself when I go shopping.
So the bloke in Co-op in Dereham, you actually first off weren't talking to him, you were talking to yourself.
Yeah. Check out my new podcast, Morgan. Yeah, great, Morgan. Thanks.
Brilliant. Well, I think that's a great place to stop. Chris, thanks once again, and good luck with all your future endeavours. I look forward to listening to you on Radio Norfolk again next season.
Thanks, chaps. Don't you give up. Keep going, keep creating, keep enjoying creating Norwich City content, and don't let anyone put you off it.
Is there anyone you want to have a shout out to or charity? I mean, you've dropped a few in, so.
Oh, well, as always, I'm an official ambassador for Big C, which is a local charity that helps local people affected by cancer. As I say, if you can afford to do so, we've got a fundraising page there's links everywhere all over our bios, my own bio. We're currently on track to hitting 50k. We think actually we're gonna here's actually good CTA, actually call to action, marketing spiel. Could you, anyone listening and watching, if you're into fantasy football, Talk Norwich City are creating their annual fantasy football tournament very soon, within the next couple of weeks. I believe it's possibly £5 or £10 entry. All proceeds go to Big C, but you can win a trophy at the end of the season as well as a special prize. We believe that will get us that big 50k mark. So help us get there and help local people affected by cancer.
That's excellent. Thank you.
Thanks,
Jez. Go on, Jez.
Sorry, Morgan. Carry on. After you.
I was about to say, are you going to go do your officious voice soon?
I don't know why you ask me every time, because you know exactly the point of when I'm going to do it, and you always go.
Chris, he adopts this tone of voice that it becomes really officious. You'll see.
Thanks everyone for listening. Can't do it now. You've done it. For everyone watching, please follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and X, and you can also now watch the show and listen on YouTube as well as all other podcast channels. Thanks once again, and look forward to speaking to everyone soon. I've been Jez Davies.
I've been Morgan Hewitt.
I've been Chris Reeve.
Hey, you got there.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
That's all for this episode of Beyond the Barclay. Thanks for listening and supporting the podcast. If you enjoyed it, be sure to follow, leave a review, and share it with fellow Norwich City fans. We'll be back soon with more insight and discussion from around Carrow Road. Until then, on the ball, City.